Hey you, and welcome to lesson 26. So today we are going to talk about the present perfect tense. We are going to talk about how to use the present perfect tense correctly, when to use the present perfect tense, what are the signal words to use the present perfect tense, and I'm going to make it as simple as possible for you. So let's get to it. Today we're talking about the present perfect tense. First of all, let's talk about how you structure a sentence using the present perfect tense. So we use a subject plus an auxiliary verb, but in this case, we use the have auxiliary. We either use have, has, or either have or has, depending on the subject. So if the subject is he, she, it, we use has. If the subject is I, you, we, they, we use have. Or if we have plural nouns, we also use have. If we have a single noun, we use has. Then we use the main verb in the past participle or verb 3. Past participle is the verb 3 form of the verb. Okay, let's take some example sentences. What happened to my, oh, okay. Hold on one second. All right, let's take some example sentences. They've been married for nearly 50 years. They've been married for nearly 50 years. So have been married. Have is the auxiliary and been married is the main verb. She has lived in Liverpool for all her life. She has lived in Liverpool for all her life. So if we have she, the subject, has, the auxiliary, lived, the past participle. Okay, now let's see how we make a negative sentence using the past participle. We basically just add not after the auxiliary. So instead if we say, I have eaten breakfast today, you say, I haven't eaten breakfast today. Have not, or you can use a contraction, haven't. Has not, you can use a contraction, hasn't. So, haven't or hasn't is a contraction. Let's see. I have not eaten breakfast today. You have not been to Asia. He has not seen the new film. She has not played tennis. It hasn't snowed. She hasn't played. So this is how we make the negative sentence. Now, let's see how we make a question form. Basically, just like with any auxiliary, we start with the auxiliary followed by the subject. So we just reverse the order. Instead of we have subject auxiliary, we have auxiliary subject, and that makes it a question. So let's see. Have I missed the bus? Have I missed the bus? Have you visited London? Has he worked as a waiter before? Has she met John? Has it been cold this week? So this is how you make a question. Now, with WH question is the same thing. We said always WH questions go to the very beginning of the sentence. Everything else follow in the same order. So the auxiliary will still be next after the question word. The subject will follow the auxiliary and the verb will follow that. Where have I left my umbrella? Where have I left my umbrella? What have you done today? Why has he gone already? Where has she been in the UK? Why has it rained so much this summer? So always the WH or the question word always comes at the very beginning and then everything else follow in the same order. If we remove the question word, it will become an auxiliary question and we will still follow the same order. So if we remove this, have I left my umbrella? Have I left my umbrella? If I remove here, it will be have you done today? It wouldn't make sense. have you done today? Has he gone already? This one makes sense. Has he gone already? Has she been in the UK? Has she been in the UK? Has it rained so much this summer? Has it rained so much this summer? So they're all fine, except for this one. This one sounds weird if you remove the question word. The question doesn't make sense. Okay, now let's take a look at contraction using the present perfect. I have, it becomes of. You have becomes you've. So we basically remove the H and the A, and we keep the V and the E, and we put the apostrophe. He has, his, she has, she's, it has, its, John has, John's, the car has, the cars. Okay, now, don't get it confused with the apostrophe possession S or with the is contraction. Normally, the verb that follows will indicate to you if it is an is contraction, or if it's an apostrophe S contraction, or if it is a past participle. Because if it's a perfect tense and it's a has, it will be followed by the past participle form of the verb. If it was is, it will be followed by either an adjective or an ing form of the verb. If it was a possessive S, then it'll be followed by a noun. We have, it's we've. They have is they've. We must not confuse the S contraction for the present perfect and the S contraction for the be verb is. Okay? Like, for example, it's eaten can mean it has eaten, or can mean it is eaten. We have to look at the context in this case to know which one is correct, because it's eaten is the passive voice for it has eaten. We haven't taken the passive voice yet, but we'll get to it. So we just base our understanding on the context, on the general meaning of the sentence to know which one it means. So let's take a look at the most important part of today's lesson, which is how do we use the present simple. This tense is called how to use the present perfect simple. This tense is called the present perfect tense because there is always a connection with the past and the present. Okay, so let's talk about the uses of the present perfect tense. When do we use the present perfect simple? The first reason we use the present perfect simple is for unfinished actions. Unfinished actions. Okay, that's number one. Unfinished actions, it means something that started in the past, but it's still happening now. Okay? We use this tense if we want to talk about unfinished action that has started in the past. It could be a habit that started in the past and continue until the present, or we usually use it to say how long, and we need since or for. Now, since and for are a little bit tricky. A lot of students get confused between since and for. Let me explain to you real quick the difference between since and for. So, if I use since, that is, since talks about one point in time when something started. Okay? So, since refers to one point in time. That is why we use since. For example, I've known her since 2008. That means this is when me knowing her has started. This is a starting point in time. So since refers to one point in time, while for talks about a period in time. A period in time. Okay, let me do this. Let me do this real quick. Okay, let's say this is a timeline. Okay, let's say this is a timeline. This is now. Okay, this is 2008. This is now. Okay, let's say this point is I have known her since 2008. So this is the date, this is the since, this is the starting point. Now if I want to use for, let's say now we are in 2021 and I've known her since 2008, so that's 13 years. So here, this period from this point, let me just change this color. The period from this point to this point is 13 years. Okay, so for this period, I am going to use pink. For this period, I'm going to say for. Okay, so the sentence is going to change to I have known her for 13 years. So notice the difference now between since and for. Since just talks about one point in time. Oh, I misspelled since. Okay, so since talks about one point in time. One point in time when an action has started. I have known her since 2008. While for talks about a period in time, so here the period is 13 years, so I have known her for 13 years. So that is the difference between since and for. Don't get confused using the two. So, unfinished action, something started in the past and it's still happening now. We use it to say how long, and we need since and for to, we often use stative verbs with that. So let's see. Let's take a look at some examples. I've known Karen since 1994. That means in 1994, my relationship with Karen began, or that is when I first got to know Karen. She has lived in London for 3 years. Now we're talking about a period of time. She's lived in London for a period of 3 years. I have worked here for 6 months. I have worked here for a period of 6 months. So for period of time, since one point in time, and that is the starting point. Now, finished action. So the first use we said for present perfect is unfinished action. Something has started in the past, but and it's still continuing until now. For finished action, like life experience, we can also use the present perfect for finished action, okay? Like experiences that you've had in the past. Let's take a look at the examples. I've been to Tokyo. They have visited Paris 3 times. We have never seen that film. Okay? Life experiences, okay? Let me make it easier for you. We use the present perfect tense if something happened in the past and we don't know when. There is no specific time for something that happened. That is the biggest difference between the past simple and the present perfect tense. If we know when something happened, then it's past simple. If we don't know when it happened, but we know it happened in the past, then we use the present perfect. Let's take a look. I've been to Tokyo. I didn't say when, so I use the present perfect. Now let's say I decided to say when. Let's say I decided to say when. I said I was in Tokyo in 2008. Now it became past simple. Why? Because we have a date. If we have a date, if we know when something happened, then it's past simple. If we don't have a date, then it is present perfect. This is the simplest way to learn this. Okay, so let's take a look at the example. They have visited Paris 3 times. They have visited Paris 3 times. You know that they have visited Paris 3 times in the past, but again, I didn't say when. The time is unknown, so it is present perfect. We have never seen that film. We have never seen that film. We use the present perfect here because of the use of never. Okay, there are keywords, signal words. I'm going to explain them to you today. And if you see any of those signals, that means it is present perfect. It means it's a perfect tense. Sometimes it refers to the past perfect tense, but we're going to talk about that later. But if you see those signals, it means this is a perfect tense. Just like we talked before about signals associated with the present simple, we said if you see always, sometimes, usually, frequency adverbs, that means it's present simple. And if you do something like with every day, every week, it's present simple because it talks about a habit or something that happens continually. And we said that signal words for the past simple are like yesterday, dates in the past, last month, last year, anything with last. So those are signals for the past simple. Now, signals for the present perfect are also there, and we're going to study them today. So let's take a look at the third reason for using the present perfect. The third reason for using the present perfect is unfinished time word. Okay, this month, this week, today. It's an unfinished time word. This week is not over, so you can do something again. Or this month, it's not over, or this year. We always use the present perfect with unfinished time words. So I haven't seen her this month, but the month is not over. I can still see her. She's drunk 3 cups of coffee today, but the day is not over. She could drink her 4th cup or 5th. I've already moved house twice this year, but the year is not over, so I can move house again. Now, the fourth reason we use the present perfect is to talk about something that happened recently. Okay? Just like the Queen has given a speech. It means recently. This has just happened. Also, if you notice, there is no time here. The time, you know that she has given a speech in the past, but we don't know when, so we use the present perfect. I have just seen Lucy. Again, here is we use the present perfect because of the signal word, which is just. The mayor has announced a new plan for the railways. Here, we use the present perfect because I don't know when the mayor has announced the plan. There is no time frame. So let's take a look at the signal words, and those are very important. Signal words are just, yet, already, recently. Okay, if you see any of those, that means it's present perfect. That is not it. There are more signal words that we're going to take during today's lesson. To express, number 5, the 5th use, to express an action that started and finished at some time in the past, the time is not included. This is the case with all the present perfect tense. We don't know when it happened. That's why we use the present perfect tense. So it's the same thing. So let's take a look. I have worked in sales. Don't know when. I didn't say when. Tom has changed his car. Didn't say when. Negative. Mark hasn't finished his work. In the negative, it can express an action that remains uncompleted. So he hasn't finished his work, but he's not dead. Mark, he's still alive. He can still finish his work. So uncompleted action here, we use the present perfect. To express repeated actions in the past, some things that happen over and over in the past. I have moved houses 4 times in my life. Or we have been on holiday to Mexico many times. Again, if you notice, we didn't say when in both cases. That's why we also use the present perfect. Okay, now let's take a look at the signal words for the present perfect. Just, yet, never, already, ever, so far, up to now, recently, since, and for. If you see any of these signals, you know that you have to use the perfect tense. So, this is it for today. I hope you have learned a bit about the present perfect, and I will see you next lesson. Have a good one.